Meet the most useful verb you have not yet learned. It means simply, I can. But it almost never stands alone. It reaches for a second verb to finish the thought.
Roman Gallo superare possunt.
The Romans are able to conquer the Gauls. By the end of this lesson, you will conjugate this irregular verb and handle every job the two form of a verb can do. First, three little words that carry no action of their own, a conjunction, a noun, and an adverb.
Neque.
And not or nor doubled, it frames a pair of negatives, neither the one nor the other.
Castellum.
A redoubt or fort, a small stronghold.
Quotidie.
Daily, every day. Next, five verbs of war and of living.
Oppugno.
To storm or to assail, to attack a fortified place.
Petō.
To aim at, to assail, to storm. Also to seek or to ask. It could batter a wall or beg a favor alike.
Pono.
To place or to put. In one set phrase, it means to pitch camp.
Castraponere.
Literally, to place the camp.
Vinco.
To conquer, to defeat.
Vivo.
To live, to be alive. Now three verbs that cannot stand alone. Each reaches for a second verb, an infinitive, to complete its meaning. Keep them in mind. They lead straight into today's grammar.
Cessō.
To cease, to stop, it stops doing something.
Incipio.
To begin, it begins doing something.
Vetō.
To forbid, the exact opposite of the verb that means to command. Here is the verb the whole lesson is built around. It means I can, and it is irregular. A fusion of two words.
Potis.
Which means able, and
Sum.
which means I am. Together they give.
Possum.
The spelling only shifts to stay easy to say. Before an S, the stem is
Pos.
so.
Possum. Possumus. Possunt.
Before a vowel, the stem is
Pot.
so.
Pots. Potest. Potestia.
The full present indicative runs.
Possum. Potes. Potest. Possumus. Potestis. Possunt.
The infinitives are two. The present
Posse.
means to be able. The perfect
Potuisse.
means to have been able. The other tenses cost almost nothing to learn. The same trick on a stem beginning with the letter P. The imperfect I was able.
Poteram. Potras. Potrat. Poteramus. Poteratis. Poterent.
The future I shall be able.
Poterō. Poteris. Poterit. Poterimus. Poteritis. Poterunt.
The perfect system is regular, all on one stem. The perfect I have been able.
Potuei. Potuisti. Potueit. Potuimus. Potuestis. Potuerunt.
The pluperfect opens with.
Potueram.
The future perfect with.
Potuerō.
Then the usual endings you already know. Like the three verbs you just met. This one leans on an infinitive. English does the same. The Romans are able to conquer the Gauls. That to conquer completes are able. In Latin,
Roman Gallos superare possunt.
the infinitive completes the verb able, which would hang unfinished without it. This is called the complementary infinitive. Again,
Roman Gallos superare possunt.
verbs of hastening and trying work the same way. They hasten to wage war.
Bellum gerere maturant.
One caution, a predicate adjective completing such an infinitive agrees with the subject of the main verb, not with the infinitive. Bad boys cannot be good.
Mali pueri esse boni non possunt.
The adjective for good is masculine and plural, matching the word for boys, the subject, not the infinitive to be. The infinitive is really a verbal noun, so it can take a subject, but not a nominative one. The subject of an infinitive goes into the accusative case. Verbs of wishing, commanding, and forbidding take an object built from an infinitive plus that accusative subject. He ordered the man to flee.
Is viros fugere iussit.
The word for the man wears the accusative ending, yet it is the subject of to flee. Burn in the rule, the subject of an infinitive stands in the accusative. Once more.
Is viros fugere iussit.
Finally, the infinitive can be a pure noun, even the subject of a sentence. To conquer is pleasing.
Superare es gratum.
The word for to conquer is the subject. The middle word means is, and pleasing describes it. An infinitive used this way is neuter and singular, so pleasing is neuter singular to match. Again, to see is to believe.
Videre es credere.
Both ends are infinitives used as nouns, and such a noun infinitive can take its own accusative subject. For Galba to conquer his enemies is pleasing to many.
Galbam superare inimicos est gratum multis.
The name in front is accusative, the subject of to conquer. Time to read, translate this, a schoolmaster giving orders.
Magister lud liberos cum diligentia laborare iussit.
The master of the school ordered the children to work with care. The word for the children is accusative, the subject of to work. Now a warning about water.
Dius in aqua vivere non potestis.
You cannot live for long without water, the verb can, joined to the infinitive to live. Two more. Armed men lay down the law.
Viri armati vetuerunt gallos castra ibi ponere.
The armed men forbade the Gauls to pitch camp there. Forbade takes the infinitive to pitch, and the word for the Gauls is its accusative subject. Next, a hard fate.
Galli ubi a Romanis victisunt, iesse liber cessaverunt.
When the Gauls were conquered by the Romans, they ceased to be free. Careful, the word before ceased does not mean children here. It is the adjective free, standing for a free-born people. One more, showing the infinitive as a plain noun.
Ejercibo e vino, e viris molestum.
To lack food and wine is troublesome to men. The opening infinitive to lack is the subject of the sentence, and the adjective troublesome is neuter, agreeing with it. Now turn English into Latin. Build it in the pause, then hear one good version. The girl began daily to carry water from the river to the gates. One rendering.
Puella cotidia quam a flumine ad portas portare incipiebat.
Began leans on the infinitive to carry, and the word for daily sits up front. Next, the Gauls had pitched their camp in a place suitable for a battle. One rendering.
Galli castra in loco idoneo prelio posuerant.
To pitch camp is the set phrase, here in the pluperfect, had pitched, and suitable takes the dative for battle. Next, for a long time they tried in vain to seize the redoubt. One rendering.
Diu frustra castellum occupare temptabant.
Tried leans on the infinitive to seize, while the words for a long time and in vain open the line. Two more, both from the same siege. Neither did they cease to hurl weapons against the walls. Remember, against the walls uses the preposition that takes the accusative here. One rendering.
Neque tela in muros iacere cessaverunt.
Cease leans on the infinitive to hurl, and the opening word carries the neither, last, but they were not able to take the town. One rendering.
Se doppidum capere non poterant.
Were not able, joined to the infinitive to take, the whole lesson caught in one short line. Now a story, the faithless Tarpeia. The Sabines once waged war with the Romans and had won many victories.
Sabini olim cum Romanis bellum gerebant et multas victorias reporta verant.
Now they were laying waste the fields nearest the walls and drawing close to the town.
Iam agros proximus muris vastabant, iam opido ad propinquabant.
But the Romans had fled up onto the capital far from danger.
Romani autem in Capitolium fugerant et longe periculo aberant.
They trusted in strong walls and high crags.
Muri validis et saxis altis credebant.
In vain the Sabines hurled their weapons. In vain they battered the hard gates. They could not seize the stronghold.
Frustra Sabini tela iacebant. Frustra portas duras petebant. Castellum occupare non poterant.
Then they formed a new plan.
Dainde novum consilium seperunt.
Tarpeia was a Roman girl, beautiful and proud.
Tarpeia erat puella Romana pulcra, et superba.
Every day she carried water for the Roman troops up to the capital.
Cotidia quam copiis Romanis in Capitolium portabat.
The Sabines did her no harm since she went unarmed, and they did not wage war on women and the children.
Ei non nocebant Sabini, quodia sine armis erat nece Sabini bellum cum feminis liberisque gerebant.
Here that same word means children, not the free people it meant before. But Tarpeia loved ornaments of gold above all.
Tarpeia autem maxime amabat ornamenta auri.
Daily she eyed the Sabines' ornaments and soon began to long for them.
Cotidie Sabinorum ornamenta videbait mox, ia desiderare incipiebat.
Then one of the Sabines said to her,
Ei unus ex Sabinis dixit.
Lead the Sabine troops inside the gates, Tarpeia, and your rewards will be very great.
Duc copias Sabinas intra portas, Tarpeia, et maxima erunt premia tua.
What that reward truly was, the next lesson will tell. That is the lesson. One irregular verb, meaning I can, fused from able plus to be, and it never works without an infinitive. 11 other new words joined your store, and the infinitive showed 3 phases. It completes a verb, it takes an accusative subject after words of commanding, and it stands alone as a neuter noun. Next, the story turns dark. Tarpeia opens the gate and learns what the Sabines truly meant by rewards. To practice what you just learned, this course has free exercises and AI-graded feedback on ludium.ai. The link is in the description.